Kept you waiting, huh?
That was pretty cool. I love that intro all the time, every time.
Every time.
It gets you hyped, excited. Episode 3. Speaking of excited, we've made it this far. It's been a while. We've been away. We've been busy. Lives came at us pretty quickly. We've been busy, new jobs, new everything. So haven't had time to sit down and, decompress through our podcast here. But nonetheless, we're on episode 3.
Yeah.
Anything?
We're pretty excited to get it going. We wanted to do, we were looking at all the topics that we had on the table, and we're throwing around a lot of ideas, and we coincidentally wanted to go with today's topic a while, and since we decided on it, there was actually been some further developments that are related.
Very, very interesting developments. One of them caught me off guard for sure.
Yeah.
Which we'll dive into later, but like we just stated, episode 3.
Episode 3.
Kept you waiting, huh?
And so this is Arze Poetic. I make YouTube content, stream once in a while, though it's been like a year, half a year since I did it. But
some pretty badass streams, though.
Thank you. I'll get back into that, and then also doing some hip hop music on the side.
Yes,
I got that on the YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out.
Definitely check that out. I just want to kind of piggyback off that. Arze Poetic is very talented. His lyrics are awesome. They're pretty unique, and I'll tell you this much: it's nothing you've heard in a while. You haven't heard this sound in a minute, so definitely check him out. He's very what's the word? You're underselling it.
I'm humble.
I'm humble about it. Yeah, but I'll be the one that's very out loud about it and just annoying about it. But great guy, great sound for sure. This is Three Kings. I'm stuttering a little bit. We haven't done this in a minute, so it's like I've lost the quickness about myself. So now I'm just trying to get back into it and kind of get acclimated again with our podcast here. But Three Kings here. Stream here and there too. I'd say I'm on par with you on streaming. I haven't done it in a while, but I very much love and enjoy streaming. I'm thinking about doing a little bit more Twitch stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
That's where it's at, man.
Yeah, because I mean, if we think about it, that's more along the lines of video games. I mean, that content there, I feel like it's more video game than YouTube is, because YouTube, everyone's trying to be a star there, whereas I like to play and stream stuff too.
It's on both platforms, but the thing that Twitch has about it over YouTube, like no doubt, no argument, is the engagement.
Yeah.
So many more tools and things. You've seen, like I have a soundboard.
I love that. I love your soundboard too, by the way. Yeah. Three Kings here again. Stream once in a while. I've been doing a lot of YouTube shorts. Just clips of me playing with the homies here. PUBG. We do Rocket League here and there. And I'm pretty much done with Call of Duty until maybe Modern Warfare 2 comes out.
Yeah.
I might dive back in. I know Battlefield. I know this is interesting. Battlefield definitely fixed a lot of things. Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, they just need more content, really.
Yeah, I think so.
But the latest map is really awesome, and they've added it's been, I am still playing it, and I enjoy it. But yeah, they
Where's
just need
the invite
more
at, man?
Oh man, you guys.
Hey, wait. So let me ask you this. Wait, are you running the PS5 version?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have PS4 at all version.
I might have deleted it to make space, but I mean,
man, that's everybody's answer too. Because Sam said the same thing. Oh, I deleted it to make space.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm doing currently, and nothing too huge.
Right on. All right. Well, for today's topic, we wanted to talk about one of our favorite publishing and development studios, Rockstar Games, because we grew up of that era where they were really blowing the fuck up, and we really enjoyed a lot of their major titles, but it's such a different era now with where they're at. And so we kind of wanted to talk about our history with their games, and why we enjoy them so much, but also
violent. That's why.
That has a lot to do with it, but also where they've gotten themselves today and what we'd like to see from them in the future.
Yeah, definitely excited to discuss this topic today and dive deeper into it.
Why don't you go over your history with the games and why you enjoyed them over the years, and what games particularly?
Well, I started off playing Grand Theft Auto, I think it was 2, and it was very briefly. It was on a friend's console. We played it. I loved it. I loved the whole bird's eye view thing of it. Like I said, we played a little bit of it, and then we went to, I think it was GTA 3 was the first game. I think for most people it was probably the first game. I know they have earlier titles. I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't play those ones. But you never know. For me, GTA 3, we played the hell out of GTA 3. All of us, me and my three brothers, took turns beating it. It was a lot. We had the cheat codes, they had everything for it. And then I believe we did Midnight Club after that. And Midnight Club for me was very awesome. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack was definitely number one. For me, all those games really that did that with the soundtrack and having, just a beefy playlist. And then after Midnight Club, we did Red Dead Redemption, the first one, not Red Dead Revolver. That's not the same, is it? Right?
So that was Red Dead Revolver came out first, but and then they eventually it was kind of like a reboot.
Oh,
Red Dead Redemption.
so I never
Yeah,
knew that. I always
yeah,
thought Red Dead Revolver was like number one, basically, and then Red Dead Redemption
yeah.
was
It's
like a
not.
number two sequel, kind of, but they just changed the name.
Yeah, they flipped it because if I remember correctly, there was a studio already working on it, and they had
Mm.
like these concepts down, and then Rockstar came in and bought the studio, and then they kind of
Mm.
took it
And
from
just kind
there.
of
And
renamed it.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. There's
Mm.
actually a pretty good gamers documentary. There's a YouTube channel. It's called Gamers, except the A is a V.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
subscribed to them. Yeah.
yeah. So they do a cool one on Rockstar games, or Red Dead Redemption in particular, and they cover that.
Yeah.
And so I could be misparaphrasing, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened there.
Yeah. And just to go back on the GTA 3 as kind of like my first, or well, not, well, I would say 3 because I played briefly 2.
Mhm.
And that was it. It was very brief. It was like I played it maybe a handful of times, and I thought it was awesome that you're able to just free roam and just do
Yeah.
whatever. And everyone at that age, I was younger, just was in love and like, oh my god, you can run from the cops and you can run. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously a kid at that age, that shouldn't happen nowadays, but back then, we were just, we're outlaws handling business. And I remember getting GTA 3, and we, like I said, to elaborate a little bit more, we played the hell out of it, cheat codes and all, no cheat codes, played all the missions,
Yeah.
even the side missions, as the
Uh-huh.
ambulance driver or whatever. There was so much to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt so great that it was such an open world to be able to run around and do whatever you wanted to. You didn't have to follow the rules. You could
Right.
do whatever, just to have that freedom to just go nuts and run into the NPCs and run them off the road, or use a tank and get a bunch of cops on you. That having that freedom really as a young kid, teenager maybe, or no, not teenager, sorry, I ain't that old. But as a young kid, it was definitely
Yeah.
something that me and my brothers and any younger boy at that age would love to do, is just go nuts and just destroy a city completely,
Mm-hmm.
in GTA 3. And then, like I said, all of the other ones kind of came very close together after that. It was Midnight Club, and a friend had that, so we'd go over every other weekend and play that. And the soundtrack is obviously what I remember the most, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people could tell you the same. And just being able to race, and I don't know what made that game so awesome. I guess the customization, to the vehicles, and to me personally, just how they set it up in, what was it, LA for Dub Edition?
Oh, I don't even remember where Dub Edition was, but I think they had a really cool arcade feel to it.
Yeah, and
The
that's what it
feel
was.
was awesome. Yeah.
And I couldn't put my finger on it because I'm a big, and like we discussed off mic, I'm a big racing game, but not like popular racing game, because I know
Mhm.
Gran Turismo was like the big deal on
Mhm.
PlayStation at least. I'm more of I loved Midnight Club, but I'm really a Need for Speed guy. I haven't
Yeah.
played the new ones, but like Need for Speed 1 through 3 was
Mhm.
like my stuff. I
Oh,
handle
yeah.
business on those, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I went to town on those too. The underground and the hot pursuit.
Hot
But
Pursuit was my
so
favorite.
basically more of the arcade racer because Gran Turismo is like what if you want to subdivide them
Hmm.
is a simulation racer where it's like way
Oh, that makes
more
sense.
in tune and you're customizing the suspension and this and that and like
I do like that
yeah,
though. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. I do like that. I have moments where I'm like, dude, I love this, and I think some of the newer Need for Speeds might have integrated some of that into it. I think somebody was telling me they were playing online a while back, and that they were able to do that with the cars now. I'm
Oh,
thinking, I
okay.
don't know. I could be wrong. We'll have to fact check that
Yeah, I
later.
mean, I think as time goes on,
Yeah.
as long as they put in the time into it and the resources, that customization is only getting better in a lot of these games. So
Yeah.
I could see that.
And then I would have to say to kind of round off my experience, my exposure to Rockstar would have to be, I mean, Red Dead is Red Dead. You know, everyone had that same kind of concept with Grand Theft Auto open world. It's vast. You can do a lot in it. There's a lot of side missions, side quests. But for me, Red Dead was awesome because I personally love the whole cowboy-esque action and stuff like that. That's my jam, really.
Western vibes.
The Western vibes, being a cowboy, just being a lone ranger, going out there and just causing trouble, or just playing by the rules.
Yeah.
You know, saving people, whatever. You could choose whatever path you wanted to. With those games, and then I'd say, to round it off, I'd say Manhunt came after that, and I would say a lot of people probably didn't try out Manhunt. It wasn't really. It was one of those, to refer back to like episode, what is it, 1 that we did.
Yeah.
That's one of the well, at the time for me, it was a clearance game.
Oh yeah.
That we picked up and ended up turning out to be phenomenal. I don't know if it was because of the history, it being too bloody, and them banning it from different countries. Maybe that's why it kind of got shot to discount right away, or maybe it just was because I remember we actually played it very shortly after it came out.
I don't know how that one performed from a sales perspective, but I think it is kind of more of a sleeper hit because the people that love it, you know, and
it's phenomenal.
And it's definitely, you know, I watched, I don't know if you checked out one video, but I checked out people breaking it down on YouTube, and there's a lot that it did pretty well as far as for the stealth genre with certain things that they did, but also they kind of took a unique outlook on just the fucked up nature of the world, really.
Yeah, and it's crazy,
you know?
crazy.
It's just brutal, but it's brutal for a reason in a way. And there's this guy that really breaks it down well on YouTube. But essentially the reason is that there is no reason, more or less. Like it's just
like mercilessly just murdering. But it's crazy how and I don't know how Rockstar did it, and I don't know if they were the ones that ultimately were the developers for it, or they got somebody from a different.
No, I'm pretty sure that one was
all the way through Rockstar.
Yeah, I believe so. I think for the second one, I think they might have brought another team.
Oh yeah, you could tell. You could tell.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because it's just it screams Rockstar.
Yeah.
The brutality of it, and even the storyline.
Yeah.
I'd say the storyline was pretty much on par with what they like to do with their games, but also I believe there's Easter eggs in, what is it, GTA? One of the GTAs. They dropped a little bit of Easter eggs.
Oh yeah.
In it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, obviously, the fan favorite is San Andreas.
Oh yeah.
San Andreas, of course. I can go on all day about that.
Yeah.
Very similar to GTA 3, same situation for those games. But Manhunt, I'd have to say, out of all of those, I don't know why. I guess it's because it was more when we were a little bit older playing that, and we all were, you know, so invested in the game, and it's difficult. You play it on the hardest difficulty, and it's very difficult to accomplish beating the game. They hardly give you any health. You know, they play with that a little bit, and also it's more of a stealth game too as well. You can complete a lot of the missions with just sneaking by and not getting caught, and you know, not having to kill people or whatever. But it is extremely violent, and them adding the executions into it definitely took the cake for a lot of people in a bad way.
Yeah,
because they are extremely.
It did get a lot of bad press. I don't know if that was part of it. I think maybe because it was a more focused game.
Yeah,
and that it was they had, because this was after like GTA 3, and I think probably even Vice City.
They're building it up. Oh, and Vice City. I mean, obviously, when it comes to Rockstar's games, I would have to say, obviously, the mandatory games you were exposed to or played were all of the GTAs.
Yeah.
And then after that, it would be, you know, these other kind of hidden gems within. So.
Yeah, so I think maybe because it was sort of a more focused title, and it wasn't like you're just driving in the city and you could do whatever, and that maybe that threw some people off, and maybe they kind of wanted that, you know, and maybe that's what got them into the hole where they are now. Just basically just doing GTA.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that in a little bit. Just to unpack my experience. with the games. You know, I definitely grew up playing them, and it actually, funny story was, I had just gotten a PS2, and it wasn't too much after that that my uncle, he was working construction at the time, and he said that he had found a game in a
No.
garbage bin,
No.
and it was just the GTA 3 disc. It didn't even have a case or
Scuffed or
nothing.
what?
I think it was a little scuffed, but I was like, all right, yeah, I'll load this up. And I was over at his house, and
Which one was it again?
this is GTA 3.
No way.
And so loaded it up, and then the whole intro, I was just like kind of mesmerized, and was just kind of like into the whole setup for the story, how you were a convict and then now you're out and you got to lay low
Yeah.
and all this stuff, and the little mafioso vibes. Like, we got super absorbed into it, and then fell in love with all of them pretty much. Vice City, countless hours into that one.
Did
San
you use
Andreas.
cheat codes at all?
So
I felt like you didn't.
I didn't use them for the game, like the story and playing through the actual game, but
Mhm.
I did when I wanted, because you sometimes you just wanna fuck with shit and you wanna go,
Yeah.
cause mayhem, and
Just
so
spawn a tank, you know?
yeah, spawn
Rhino
a
tank.
tank, just and so like I would use the cheat codes
Mhm.
when I was deliberately trying to have that kind of fun, but when I was doing the missions and stuff,
No.
yeah, I pretty much wouldn't. I think there might have been some cases where I did like pop up, but I really tried not to. Um, but yeah, I mean that one they brought in. I just remember talking with a friend like in elementary school, like, yeah, they should add motorcycles and this and that,
No way.
and then and planes, helicopters, and then they sure enough did.
Wow. You told the
And
future. There you
and
go.
it was like, damn. And then the same thing with San Andreas. I was definitely much more into that style of things, getting more into hip hop, and especially the West Coast like 90s era.
Yeah.
And so when they put San Andreas out there and the whole gangbang culture in the beginning and everything, it was just like, yeah, it was a whole nother dream. And then,
Mhm. But it's also it's crazy because San Andreas almost feels like, yes, the same team at Rockstar, they handled the GTA series,
mhm.
and of course there's a lot of resemblance in this game, but it also feels like kind of like a new game too. Because
Yeah.
there's like other things you can do that like broke it wide open, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, they just brought everything to that next level. And
Yeah.
where Vice City did some things,
But it
like,
was like minor small things. I love
yeah.
the businesses in that.
Yeah, they did add businesses
I
for Vice
love that.
City. So
Yeah.
there were significant things, but
Mhm.
San Andreas like exponentially grew, it felt like. And there was just so much more. You had businesses, you could do gang wars, and
Mhm.
then just all of the vehicles, and then what really I think did it for a lot of people was customizing the character,
Mhm.
because you couldn't really, I think you had a couple outfits in Vice City, but like you couldn't really do much there. But in San Andreas, you were able to like customize the character's outfit to how you wanted to,
Mhm.
and you could even hit the gym and get
You
buffed
can
up.
eat,
You
get
could eat and
fat.
get fat and be skinny, dude. Like all of that stuff. It was pretty amazing what they did, but anyways, I though those were my major exposure to Rockstar. Then of course I got to talk about Max Payne, um,
Oh my god, I forgot
because
that.
while that was started by Remedy Studios, they teamed up with Rockstar,
Yes.
and they were able to release those games, and those are some of my favorite games of all time. The Max Payne games, just I'm a sucker for that John Woo like slow motion dodging bullets gameplay. Anytime
Matrix.
that's Matrix style, anytime I could do some Matrix moves in a game, like, you got me sold, you got me hooked.
Yeah. But it was and sorry to interject, but
Uh,
I totally blew right by that, and I'm hating myself right now because that did play a very pivotal role early on in my video game career. Um, and it was to me, Max Payne, the first one, was well written. Whoever did the story
mhm,
for it and the action, and it was, to me, that was one of the titles that took it to the next level too. Very, very much with the whole slow motion
mhm.
and also just an in-depth story.
Yeah, they definitely brought the narrative to the next level, and that's a lot of thanks to the writer was Sam Lake
Mhm.
at Remedy. And fun fact that the in the first game, the character model for Max is actually him.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I
so
saw
you
that. Yeah.
basically they took like a picture of him in that. And what I really loved about that too is they had this whole comic book style narrative.
Yes, I love that.
It
Yeah,
was
when
like
they.
that graphic novel
Mhm.
where a lot of the major plot points, while there were some like regular style cutscenes, a lot of it was in this comic book style that was just
I'm gonna do the
so
comic book
heavy.
style. I feel like I wanna do like some type of video where we do it just like that, where it's comic
Yeah.
book style, and you just lay it out. Because I feel like that'd be such a cool video to do. And just the emotion and the voice. To me personally, the voiceover,
Yeah.
hands
Oh,
down.
top notch. That
Soundtrack too, just like the not melody. What's it called that they had during
yeah,
each
the little
scene?
the backing track that they had going on, and yeah, the Max Payne theme is just classic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm forgetting the actor's name right now, but he's phenomenal. Those games were just incredible for their narrative
Mhm,
and their gameplay. That's why they're one of my favorites.
mhm.
And so to go on to that, I did play a little bit of Midnight Club, but only the third one. But then I ran with LA Noir.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That came out a little bit later. They partnered up with some guys at Team Bondi, and that was like I'm a sucker for 40s, any like Prohibition era up to like 50s, kind of mafioso type stuff. And so
Yeah.
that while you didn't play as that, it was in that era, and you
Hmm.
played as a detective, and you had crimes where you kind of like interacted with such types.
Hmm.
But it was just that era, and what I liked about that, but also Max Payne heavily. What I wanted to say was the noir element. I'm a sucker for noir also,
Hmm.
and just
I
that
just like
deep,
how you say
dark,
noir.
yeah, that melancholy,
Yeah,
detective kind of
I've never played it.
gritty.
Never played it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I kind of am sad that I never did get a chance to play it when it first in its original run.
yeah.
It's not too late to try it out now.
It's not. It still holds up pretty well, and it's on PS4 via remaster, so you could play that on
No
the
way.
five. Yeah,
Okay, I'll check
yeah,
that out then.
yeah. But yeah, that wraps up more or less. I mean, we could go on and on. I'm
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I didn't play Manhunt though, except at your house way
yeah,
back for
yeah.
a little bit. But I wish listed it on Steam, and I'm definitely gonna give it a go.
The focus today of the podcast is something that I've been wanting to talk about forever, which is the constant. What is it? Just the boring and drawn out
Mhm.
uh, gameplay of GTA 5. Not gameplay in a sense, but just a constant for today's gaming world. GTA's been a staple for the past how many years?
Oh, I mean, easily a couple decades.
Yeah, and we're talking pre GTA 5. So
Yeah,
they've been doing this for a while now.
right. But GTA 5 in particular is coming up on a decade,
And
and
that
we're still playing it today.
that's bad.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna address the elephant in the room. That's bad, and there's a lot that goes into it, which we're gonna explain throughout the rest of this podcast. But the the main primary issue here is the fact that we have not, as gamers, loving Rockstar, playing all their titles, we have not received any word on any future developments. Kind of here and there, you'll hear it here and there. People will break a little bit of news and stuff, but for the
Mm.
most part, they've focused solely on GTA 5 and just kind of beating a dead horse,
yeah,
if you must. I mean, that's the right analogy, but
yeah.
it carried 3 consoles, dude. That's
Three
insane.
consoles, which is crazy, and it's becoming more of the norm, which it's good and bad. It's a double edge because I'm definitely all for video game preservation, and we should be able to play all these games on the latest consoles.
Of course.
However, when they you don't necessarily want them to be the focus and
No.
and like what they're stuck to, and they do a lot of cool things, but just going off of the games that we already ran through, there's just so much more potential to do more things, and essentially they're one of the best in the industry at keeping secrets. They don't really get leaks, but all we know is they're working on GTA 6 and they're still working on GTA Online. Anything else? I mean,
Everything else is scrapped. But my
yeah.
issue with GTA 5, I would not mind playing this game for a decade plus if we had something new to work with. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the issue at hand with
Mhm.
GTA 5 and being completely ran dry
Yeah.
for the past decade.
It feels like they're just throwing a lot of toppings. It's
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
damn pizza, but with just hella more toppings. and
No
really,
pineapple. I love pineapple, but they ain't even
yeah,
put the pineapple in that
they didn't
joint.
even put the pineapple, and it's just barely. So
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to mention is while they're running this game into the ground, they are updating it fairly regularly.
I
Though
mean,
it's
often, really, right?
pretty often. It's gotten better, but this is the thing, is that because they're putting so much of their development into it. But it's just now that barely there's
Yeah.
a new update coming out with some new missions and whatnot.
No way.
And
I honestly, I gave up. I haven't even
yeah,
cracked it.
and so I don't even know when it's coming out. It's coming out fairly soon, I
Okay.
think. But what got me excited is apparently they're reworking the snack system and the whole like armor menu and all that stuff.
How so?
Apparently they're gonna make it more simplified and easier to use because
Was it not? I mean, I
it was
sound
terrible.
silly. It is terrible because first
Yeah.
of all, I'm going to get laughed out the building for this joint. But basically, I never used snacks until I played
Uh,
online with you guys, to be honest with you. And what it's been out for a decade, and I just barely use snacks.
yeah.
Like we'd play UI, Sam, or whoever, and we'd be running a heist or whatever,
Right.
and then we'd encounter some idiots online that were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just going to screw their whole day up." And then that wasn't until I heard one of you guys, and I can't remember when it was. It was like 2 years, 3 years ago. And it was like, "Hey, just eat some snacks," and I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And that wasn't until I knew the quick menu, and I did, dude. It's so
Yeah.
bad. I just dive right into stuff.
It's terrible, but it's for those that don't know, you eat snacks to replenish your health.
Yes,
And being a game where you're always shooting and fighting other enemies or players, you want to be up on your health and equipping armor, but like it's just so unintuitive, if that's a word.
there's multiple menus to get to it.
There's multiple menus, and if you eat them regularly, it's gonna play a whole ass animation of you eating the candy bar or whatever.
Oh
And the
yeah,
only way to skip it is you have to get into some cover and then just mash that button so you're downing all these chocolate bars or whatever. And it's
sodas, whatever.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a terrible way to kind of be in the middle of a gunfight. You want to heal up a little bit, and you got to get into some cover, go through some menus, and then
and by
apply
that
some.
time they're already up on you,
They're
and it's
already up
over.
on you, so it's and not to get so hyper focused on one of the many flaws, but my point is that this system is very much aged and did not age well, and it's just now getting some updates and reworking
But
almost 10 years
yeah,
later.
and that's
Yeah.
that's a big deal because in
Yeah.
my opinion, I know they dealt with a lot of issues at launch. I know back on the was it PS3, there was a lot of issues. You could hardly get online. It was
Mhm.
bad. It was bad, bad. But this was a very, and it still is, in my opinion. I mean, we may crap on it all we want, but it's still a very active game.
Yeah.
And the issue with it is at launch, there was a lot of issues for a while. For a while, there were a lot of issues for, I'd say, some serious issues for a couple months after it released. And of course, like any big game
Mhm.
like this, because I know before this, GTA 4
I
didn't,
think they
it
had
had
some similar.
online, but then it was extremely short lived because I'm pretty sure it was probably in due to GTA 5 about to be or in development or being developed or
Yeah,
working
it took a
on.
little while. I mean, I definitely got my time with GTA Online, but like it wasn't as developed. So you had some like PvP modes, but one of the funnest things to me is I used to go around with my buddy Angel and
Mhm.
homie Yvonne from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
We would just roll around and roam around, and we'd find glitches. And
Yeah.
that was the thing to do. We'd find weird things that you can get inside, or
Mhm.
like we found this swing set glitch that would launch you across the
I
city.
remember that, dude. I came
Yeah.
over your house and I remember doing that. And I was like, this is the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever.
It's crazy, and so it was a little more novel in that regard, where basically you were just kind of exploring the world, and that was that. But GTA 5 definitely tried to up the ante with adding all these different modes and things, but
And it worked. I mean, in my
it
opinion,
did.
they took out some of the cool things. In my opinion, I know I keep saying that, but I want to express how much this is just my opinion because people tend to take it and do other things with it and think it's law. It's not. But for me, I think this is a great game. I've always
Yeah.
thought it's been great. The only issue I have with it is, there's issues with how to earn currency in the game.
Yes.
Initially, when we first started out, I felt like it wasn't as bad
Mhm.
because there wasn't that much cool shit to buy
Right.
from launch to I'd say about 3 years, maybe 2 years in, a year and a
Yeah.
half in, there wasn't that much cool shit that they had pumping out as far as
Right.
DLCs and stuff like that goes. So it was kind of in its infancy in a weird way.
Yeah.
Um,
You didn't feel it left out because there wasn't much to.
Buy.
It was still that novel element of like you're in a game with your friends. You're in.
Exactly. And it was just awesome
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, something you played, like we just both said early on, when we were growing up, we played it and it was so open world. It was,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it was very groundbreaking because I was
It
like,
was.
holy moly, you can go across the whole city. I could go in the water in a boat. I can kill random pedestrians. I know that sounds terrible, but I could do all this. And, it's just, you just die and you get right back up and you have all your weapons. It's the same stuff, and
Yeah.
to bring that online, because I didn't have any presence on GTA 4 at all, period. I didn't even have online, I don't think, by that point. But to play GTA 5 and to know that, hey, all my friends are going to be on this game and we're all going to be able to run a crew, a gang, or whatever together and roll out and just mess with people. It was just like, it's just eye-opening experience. But where it's at today is far from what it used to be, because now you felt extremely left out.
Yeah, and they've done some things to kind of mitigate that. Like if you log in regularly, you get money and stuff, and if but it's all these extra things that are adding to the disparity, the economic disparity, because you get somebody brand new that hops in there.
Oh,
And
good luck.
they get
Good
a certain
luck.
amount of money, and they can only have a certain amount of properties and whatnot,
Or vehicles.
and
Clothes.
all the cool shit. You gotta spend hours and hours and
Grinding
hours,
the game.
or whipping that credit card out and
Buying
dropping
a shark card or something.
Yeah,
And that's kind of where it's turned to majority of the time, which is, you get a lot of these younger kids doing that and purchasing shark cards or whatever. And for those uninitiated, shark cards are basically, they give you instant money, right?
yeah. It's basically instant money that you can use, but like
You buy with your real life money.
and that's one thing. And I knew a dude who that's what he did, and I understood the element because he loved the game, but he was also full-time job and everything,
So
and
he didn't have time to grind the game. Yeah.
So he was okay with dropping $20 here and there,
Yeah.
to get some stuff. And that's okay, and I get that point of microtransactions. I can understand that, and I think that should be an option for people. However, what happens is that you pay $20 and you get like pennies,
Yeah.
like you get a couple 100,000 or whatever the amount is, but it's not enough to really do anything.
To have fun. And that's
Yeah.
going back to what we said early
Yeah.
on. It was fun because you were included. Now it's like you're way off
Yeah.
they're off the mark. Like you could start today. I wouldn't even want to imagine the people
Yeah.
starting to set up their character in today's
Yeah.
GTA world, because online it's a nightmare, because now they have even more very OP shit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And of course, some of those people have earned it through grinding the game, and a lot of them haven't earned it
Yeah.
through just buying it. But nonetheless, one of my biggest gripes is there's issues with the economy and how money is awarded from the missions or the heists. And I feel like it's just not enough, or they need to reduce the price on some of the in-game
Yeah.
items, clothes, cars, buildings, whatever you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
say. I could go all day talking about that, but
Yeah.
as far as customization and having real estate and cool stuff like that, that's awesome. But it's not awesome when you cannot afford it.
Right. And you got to put countless hours to get to the most basic of things. And
It's just a lot of with the missions
yeah.
too. It's very repetitive, and
Yes.
it's constant, same wash, rinse, repeat. And
Yeah.
it's frustrating because for a lot of us, myself included, it gets boring after a while. You don't want to
Yeah.
grind the same mission for hours. Of course, I'm not talking exploits. I'm not talking, like cheating where,
Right.
you're grinding out, flipping cars. What was the glitch in the
Oh,
beginning?
yeah.
What was
They
the
had a
glitch?
few of those, but yeah, like duplicating cars
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things
stuff like
that.
that. Like, okay, I understand, like cheating wise, like you're doing that.
Right.
I don't encourage that at all. Maybe I do.
But there's work the system, people.
Yeah, work it.
But I mean, to your point, like
Yeah,
the thing is that ultimately it's all about making money to buy more shit, and that's how a lot of online games are, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you want to level up, you want to get more things, all this stuff, and that's cool. That can be cool, But the other pitfall of it here is that all of the ways to make money are very similar. And there's like, you know,
Common thug, basically.
you're a common ass thug. You basically, okay, you want to own a nightclub, you can own a nightclub. You want to
Cool.
own a motorcycle club, you can do this. But you go and do the missions, and it's like, okay, drive here to there, drop some shit off, pick up some drugs,
Possibly
whatever,
kill some people.
kill
Yeah.
some people, and then go, and it's just like, and yeah, that is at the heart of these games, but the reason why it becomes so stale is because the gameplay itself has not aged very well.
No, and it's
It's
stagnant.
it's pretty clunky at this point,
Hmm.
where you're walking around and you feel like you're telling your character what to do rather than controlling the character.
Yeah, that's a big
And
deal.
the shooting is just like lock on, lock off, lock on, lock off, and it's just like
You ever do
very.
that? You do that non-assist aim? You ever try that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
hard as
like I
hell,
like
dude. I don't
going
know
in
how.
those lobbies.
That's hard as hell, dude.
But it is hard as hell because the sensitivity and the
It's
acceleration, all
all
these
off.
things that they have in there, it's just not smooth.
Yeah, it's not, and it's very. I tried it once.
Yeah.
I'm done. I never again. I went back to just assist me as much as possible because I
Yeah.
can't handle
But
this.
it becomes so stagnant because there's
Mhm.
only so much you can do. And it is, and yeah, to go back to what we were saying earlier and what you were saying is that, we played this game for probably hundreds of hours
Oh yeah,
and we do love it. And, and I do enjoy my time with it or have enjoyed my time with it. But it's definitely, we're kind of overdue to like, okay, let's just get on with it and let's go on to the next thing.
yeah. And I know for going back to it, there it's very stagnant, and sometimes some of your friends are way light years ahead of you because they grinded the game while you were just playing whatever and getting back on it.
Mhm.
Um, but I left GTA Online because it definitely was very stagnant, and I felt like Rockstar kind of they were like, hey, you know what, we're making enough money with the shark cards and with I don't know the DLCs or just in general, just people buying the game still.
Right.
That they were like, hey, we're good, we're earning our money,
Yeah.
but I mean, we'll add here and there little cosmetic things and new high, like one new highs, two new highs, but it's the same rinse and repeat or wash, rinse and repeat cycle. In my
Yeah.
opinion, there's no uniqueness about it, and there's
Right.
so much, in my opinion, they can do to keep the player interested in involved.
Yeah, and I think one of those things is not necessarily leaning on the online so much, or just adding more structured missions with it, which they aren't doing now. But
Mhm.
one thing that they had said from, I don't know if it was from the original launch of the game back in 2013,
Mhm.
or if it was sometime after that, but there were initially plans to develop a single player story driven DLC, just like they did with Grand Theft Auto 4, which in that case were Sons of the Damned, I believe it was,
Mhm.
and Ballad of Gay Tony. And those were like an expansion of the regular game where you played a different character and did a whole kind of different missions and also had different gameplay elements added to them. And those were awesome for what they were. And so GTA 3 being what it is, I think it was kind of hit or miss when it came to the story. I didn't enjoy it so much. I thought they definitely leaned into what they wanted to do, but it wasn't necessarily my favorite. I mean, it was probably my least favorite GTA from a story standpoint.
Yeah,
But
but then you have hitters like San Andreas,
you
Vice
have hitters
City,
like
and
San Andreas and all that,
yeah,
and so I was really hyped, like I'm sure plenty of other gamers, for like some story DLC, and like, oh, maybe
yeah.
we can play as CJ, or like maybe it'll bridge that gap between San Andreas and this
I mean,
one.
they
And
have the ability to do that. That's
yeah,
crazy. They didn't even think of
they
that.
did it. No, no, they thought, because they said they would do it,
Yeah,
but the thing is GTA Online became so successful
they're like abandoned ship on
that they
everything.
abandoned ship on everything, and unfortunately that's where we're at today, because one of their other most successful franchises, Red Dead Redemption, um,
Beautiful game.
which is a
Beautiful game.
beautiful game, and it's definitely, I love that way more than the recent GTA, at least, because it is just, the tone in it is much more dramatic, and
Mhm.
it's really going into the Western thing. And I think it tries not to be, it's not as cheeky as GTA 5 is, because it's like present day and it tries to be so satirical.
Mhm.
Um, Red Dead, while they have those elements, like I was just playing a little bit last night in preparation for this. It's
Nice.
just the environment and I guess you could say like the aura of the game. It just
Mhm.
has this very realistic tone. Like you really just soak in the environments and the vibe, and you really get transported to that world. And you'll be riding your horse, and then just some slow tune kind of rolls in,
I
and you
love
know what
that.
I
I
mean?
love
Like
they do that. I love
it
that.
takes you in, and it's a whole different feel than this like slapstick thing that GTA 5 has going on.
I feel like they didn't really even put effort into the story mode on
Yeah,
GTA 5. In my opinion, I felt like it was very copy and paste in a way where it was almost like they didn't try, they didn't put effort. Whereas whoever, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure it was all Rockstar all throughout with Red Dead, um, that they had either more time to focus on
yeah.
the story for Red Dead, but even and maybe you can add a little more for the online aspect of it, because I know I
Right.
played one day of it and I was like, I'm done, because I was just, man, it was
Yeah.
bad, dude.
I mean, unfortunately, similar to GTA in the beginning, there wasn't much to do, and
Yeah,
it was cool to be there. And Red Dead 1 had also had an online that was pretty fun,
I
but
never played it. That's
yeah, I
crazy.
barely did, but point being, like it was just a whole different ass game, and the online was promising because it was like, okay, we're getting tired of GTA. Let's go full on into this Western thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they add tons of content, and we can, maybe some story driven content that we can collaborate on and team up and whatnot. And eventually, they did add some of those things, but it was such a slow draw.
Hmm.
It's like being on life support, but but like it keeps getting unplugged or something, and
Yeah, it's
someone's
like,
like, "Oh
hey,
wait,
hey,
here we
hey, hold
go."
on, power outages.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they officially dropped support. So
Wow,
it's no longer getting any
wow.
updates.
So, and this is Red Dead Online.
Red Dead Online, yeah, Red
Oh
Dead
my
Online.
god.
Which I don't. To be fair, I don't really play it, but I
Still,
would still like to. Being how it's like what 6 years newer
it's, yeah.
than you
It
know
barely. Yeah, I feel like, I know it came out a while ago, but I feel like it barely just came out,
Yeah, like
and they're
three, four
already
years
shelving it.
ago, 4 or 5 years. I don't know, something like that. But not 9 going on 10.
Yeah, I feel like it's more in depth with Red Dead, and it's always been in depth on like the story. Everything's been better with Red Dead. Even like
Right.
number one, in my opinion, I'd play Red Dead Redemption 1 over GTA, and I know I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
hear it, GTA 3 through Vice City, to be honest,
Yeah.
and San Andreas. I'd play Red Dead 1 because it's
Yeah.
such, even for its time, it was way ahead with graphics, with storyline, with
Yeah.
just everything.
With the world being alive, because while it
Yeah,
wasn't as dense, because you're not in like city populated areas,
yeah,
with NPCs, the
mhm,
NPCs that were there had all these unique things going for them.
yeah,
Somebody's transporting a prisoner, and you can save them, or
yeah.
like little things like that.
Well,
That
you can
like,
get lost. You
or
can
you
just
can
get
get
lost
lost.
in the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
and just be there for hours. And it's weird because I if you ask me why I don't play it now, I can't really give you a solid answer. I didn't even beat the story of 2, which I know you've said is just crazy cool. And
It is. You
and the
have
thing
to.
is with, I beat 1,
Mhm.
but 2 I didn't beat. I guess a couple games launched at the time of
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
you
It
know,
happens to
you have your
everybody.
preferences sometimes, but
Right.
it's crazy because I've always just loved, like you said, where they cue in the music or just the scenery, and it's just so peaceful. But I've never gotten bored to the point where, and of course, we can sit here and say it's because GTA 5 has been around for a decade plus,
Mhm.
but I've never gotten bored like I have in a GTA lobby, even online or
Yeah.
not, where you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go play something else, or I'm gonna get off.
Yeah.
And it's like with Red Dead, it both games, it's just there's so much packed into one game,
Right.
and it never gets boring, and you're never like, why am I just flying a helicopter around in circles? Like
Yeah.
but like you're on your horse and you're discovering new areas. And I like that
Right.
too about the map with the number 2, where
Yeah.
you have to uncover almost the whole, and that was sick.
Yeah, and there's all these different environments, but not only that, the wildlife is on another level.
Oh my
So you
God.
can literally just roam around and like, oh, you need some you want to make some money, or you need some
You
you
can
need
do
to cook
the
some
skin,
food.
right? Or the
Yeah.
coats.
Oh, let's, go hunt some game, and
That was
then,
sick.
put it on your horse, bring it back to town, and like cook it
But then
up.
even the customizations down to the horses,
Yeah.
that was sick. And I feel like what they're doing with the Red Dead,
Yeah.
and I'm worried about, is there ever going to be a Red Dead 3? We don't
Yeah,
know.
we don't know.
But it's like, because they were like, oh, we spent so much money investing
Yeah.
in 2 that it didn't work out. but it's because you were milking GTA 5 the entire time. So you never
Yeah.
gave it life. You never gave it an opportunity. You kind of were like, oh, let's give some half-ass updates on it, and then
Yeah.
oh well.
They could have easily thrown in some DLC for single player content, but then also, for the online guys, a lot more missions and things to do. It's a shame because all those resources got diverted to GTA because it's this, such expansive and like all encompassing experience where Red Dead is more focused because it's stripped back because of the nature
Mm-hmm.
of it being in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as many things going on, but I think that works to its benefit because then all the things you can do are heightened. And it's of course because
Yeah.
it came out later, they learned, tricks from the last one and
Yeah.
all their other games that it's more polished than GTA. There's no debating that. It's just that's just the evolution of their game. And
Yeah.
so,
And if
yeah.
there was a lot of focus on little DLCs or side games that worked. For example, I never played it, but the Undead Nightmare. I know you had some praise for
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Which if that worked in the past, and the thing is even X amount of years ago,
Mhm.
media wasn't the same as it is today. So where social media is so prevalent in your life that like someone can hop online and just go into an hour YouTube video on a review of a game, or
Mhm.
someone can publish something instantly and you read it or whatever the case may be. So it's like reviews are out there in an abundance in today's society.
Mhm.
Whereas back then it was there, but it wasn't as crammed in your face. I can see,
Yeah, you had to look into a magazine or look online,
Game Informer.
Game Informer or
Yeah.
one of those, whatever it was. And so, a lot of times you went into these games not really knowing what to
You kind
expect.
of just taking a gamble at them, huh?
You take a gamble, and so
Hmm.
when they hit that much harder because you didn't see it coming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how was, if you can, just a little bit about the Undead Nightmare?
Yeah.
What was that about? Because I know I didn't play it, and it's, you want to go a little back on
So
that?
from what I recall, basically what happens is like it's sort of like think of it like a weird like Twilight Zone episode where all of a sudden, just some zombies start coming out and all these weird strange creatures are coming out and things
Okay.
are happening in and so you're playing the main character still and
Hmm.
now you're investigating what's going on and so it's like a whole nother game
Yeah.
because there's story missions and they had some co-op elements to it as well and they had all these new enemies and they had it a couple new weapons I think um but basically it was its whole own story. It's
And
just
it's
like
its own game, basically.
it's basically this to the equivalent of like how Sons of the Damned for GTA 4 let you be in a biker gang and they added like functionalities to the game, but you
Hmm.
also play this whole other character with a whole nother story and missions, right?
Hmm.
So you're still playing the same character here in Undead Nightmare, but now it's like zombies are there. And so
That's
it's like
awesome.
it's kind of like a spin-off, I would say, because
Hmm.
it's not like, okay, this is not the main story anymore,
Hmm.
but it still had so much character and it was still so fun to play.
I played the Ballad of Gay Tony, the, what is that called? Like
The
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 branch off of GTA
the DLC
3
for
DLC
4.
4,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so
DLC
Sons of the Damned, see that's the thing with GTA 4 is they had two of
two
them.
of them, which is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Rockstar, what happened, bro? Like,
Yeah.
you were doing so much, and I'm sorry, but it's just, it sucks because, as a consumer buying these games, they're not cheap. And
Yeah.
I get it, and I understand, that's not my job. I can critique as much as I want, but I'm not on the computer doing the
Right.
animations or doing any of that. And I respect all the hardworking men and women that, spend countless hours of just going into the game and developing it and doing the animations and all that. And I respect that. But I must say, Rockstar needs to do better because they've done better in the past, and they need to do better now in the future with what they have. I mean, if they're going to stretch out GTA, okay, then sprinkle in some intriguing stuff to make
Yeah.
it playable again.
Yeah, there was so much they could do there and I think that's ultimately, I keep going back to it, but I think what made these games so great is like yes, you're in an open world. Yes, you can
Yeah,
go around and do all kinds of crazy things, but they all had a story that was stringing everything along.
yeah,
And it was at times like being in a movie where you're just watching these crazy events happen and all these characters that you get to know being with them and whatnot. And I think that's where Rockstar's strength really lies, is in storytelling.
Yeah.
And yes, gameplay is very much there as well, but it's the storytelling. And Red Dead 2, I think they just, for the story there,
Mhm.
they really hit it off, and it's a phenomenal story, and it's super focused, and you can literally watch that, if you watch a cut version like without the gameplay and stuff, like it's worthy of being considered like a full-on film experience when you're looking at
I
it from that
I
lens.
love the camera angle you did, the theatric one, or what's it called?
Oh, the cinematic camera?
Cinematic camera.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
even in GTA when you
They
do it,
had
it's
that in
pretty
there.
sick.
Yeah, but it's cool because, and see, the thing is, they knew this and they leaned in on it
Mhm.
because, for instance, GTA, the cinematic camera just changes and you have no real control over it, which bums me out. But in Red Dead, while it does that, if you put it in cinematic mode, all you got to do is like hold X and it'll control the horse
I
for you.
love that. I know, and when you showed me that, my
And
mind was
so
blown.
yeah, and so you'll be on a mission and you're going to this place, which is very, par for the course. We're going point A to point B to do some stuff, right?
Mhm.
But point A to point B is filled with this rich conversation that's developing these characters, and you kind of just want to soak it in and, listen to them talk and kind of pick apart like pieces of their history and what they got going on.
Yeah.
And so you can just literally sit back and watch it, and you're still in control of the character, but
Mhm.
you can kind of pull back a little bit. And I think that was the beauty of it. You can pull back and go forward
Yeah.
as desired.
And I think that I don't know what happened with the whole them shelving now online and even the story, because I've never played, besides games that are not online, like Manhunt or Midnight Club or Max Payne. Well, Max Payne had an online feature later on, 3, right?
3 had it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as online goes, I would all day, and I know I haven't had that much hours on it. I would do Red Dead Online over even Red Dead 2 Online. I know I've just stated that I only played like 2 days of it, 3 days of it. But how do I say this? When I'm not, you said it earlier, when you're not, when it's hard to catch up, when it's hard
Oh
to,
yeah.
there's so
Juggle all
much,
these
yeah,
titles, yeah.
exactly. And it's hard to get in and be successful right away.
Right.
It goes into you not understanding something and just saying, I don't want this toy no more. I want a new one. Bye.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how it is for me.
Yeah, it's a shame because here we are singing the praises of these older games, particularly Red Dead 1 and GTA 4. And they're trapped on the older consoles
That's
because
crazy. Yeah.
you can't play them unless you got a, well,
Emulator, right?
yeah, for Red Dead 1, you have to pretty much have an emulator. But for GTA 4, they do have a PC port.
Okay.
And, with Red Dead 2 being a prequel, a lot of people don't know it's before Red Dead 1. I think a lot more people are open to getting into Red Dead 1, but the sad, unfortunate realities is they really can't. And so
No.
they easily could bring that back. And, I don't want to say easily, but knowing the amount of revenue they get from these games
Oh
and all
my
this stuff, they could
gosh.
definitely divert some
How much
resources.
did it cross just recently? GTA 5? Didn't they just put it out there?
Oh,
Like a
I don't know, but
billion or something?
it's still, I don't know if it's still true to this day, but I know at one point, if not now, it was the highest
Video game of all time?
media of all time. It surpassed
Jeez.
even
Movies,
music,
everything.
movies, all of that.
Oh my gosh. I believe it.
And my point is that they could and they should, for game preservation's sake and just accessibility, bring these games back onto current platforms via remaster. Now, they kind of tried to do this with the GTA trilogy, and
Oh my goodness. I know you're a little bothered by this.
I'm
What
a little
happened?
bothered by it because I kind of went for it, and it was a full price game, and I was like, all right, yeah, let me
Damn.
relive some of these classic moments.
Mhm.
And they did some cool things, but a lot of it was just very like misdirected. There was weird changes with some character models that were just super not fitting, and but in other regards, it did look a lot better and cleaned up.
Yeah.
But then you also arguably the tone got worse because it was
Oh,
just
jeez.
all things just looked a little. It was good and bad,
It was
right?
choppy.
It was choppy, and there were lots of bugs and glitches for these
Ah,
games that are
hate that.
super old because from
Mhm.
what I understand, they were based off of the mobile versions, which had their own host of bugs and
Mhm.
glitches. But anyways, not surprisingly, that definitive trilogy did terrible. Actually, what they did before they released it, they pulled off the original games from PC storefronts
Wow. You
because they're
serious?
like, oh, this is going to be a definitive experience. This is what we want people to buy. But
Wow.
because it did so bad,
They
they
put them back.
actually they either they put them back or they let people like re-download them or something to that
That's
effect.
insane. And speaking of them, them stretching out GTA 5 much way past its I guess expiration date. Um and like we said, we can go on forever about how we're okay with it, but then not okay. We can give the pros and cons. But what's essentially hurt them is the fact that they shelved a bunch of other stuff to focus on not only just, I don't know if it was just GTA Online or whatever. I'm hearing talks of them, like you said, they shelved uh the Red Dead 2 Online, and I think from what I saw, it was or an article I read earlier before the podcast started, was that they shelved it in light of the fact that I guess GTA 6 is, the ball's really rolling on that there, and that they're in
Yeah.
the middle of, I don't know, they're in the middle of developing it, or they're just
So
talking about it before they
I
start.
believe they're in the middle of development because they did officially confirm, like I think a couple months ago, that it started development, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess before it was in the pre-production phase.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, they have GTA 6 going on, and by all means, like I get they want to put a lot of resources in there,
Uh-huh.
but they're still keeping this GTA Online thing going, and so pretty much anything else that was on the table
Off the
is
table.
off the table, and
It's on the ground.
particularly because GTA Definitive Trilogy did so bad due to their part in the horrible port.
Yeah.
They took that, I guess, as an initiative to shelve a GTA 4 and Red Dead 1 remaster,
Wow.
where
Yeah.
those would have easily have done better because they were more recent games. It wouldn't, and I think if they did it right, it would have been really great experiences.
Mhm.
But who knows? Maybe they would have just delivered some hot buggy messes like what we got with Definitive Trilogy.
Yeah, see, and I didn't even crack that. I didn't even
Yeah,
try it, and I'm glad I didn't now.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even know that, to be honest with you, I didn't know they put that out at all, period. And my focus was on other games, but I was so just kind of thrown off by the GTA 5 and it being stretched for so long that I was like, I don't want nothing to do with any type of GTA. I mean, honestly, to be real with you, if they dropped next year, if they dropped GTA, the new one, which they're not, it's going to be a
No, it's gonna be like
long
4 years.
4 more years. And
I
that's
think.
what's scary is another 4 more years. It'll be almost what, 16
Yeah,
years almost now.
and GTA Online will still likely be going.
Yeah.
So,
And that's fine, but add
uh,
more. And we'll
yeah,
dive into that for sure
yeah,
on what they can add to make it, a more, to bring us back, to bring myself back.
right, right. So before we get into GTA 6 and all the things we want to see there, we could talk a little bit about Rockstar as a whole and what we'd like to see them do as a publisher slash developer.
Yeah, of course. There's a couple things, a handful of things they
Yeah.
could do. It honestly wouldn't be something that's too unrealistic, as much as something that they've either done in the past before that's worked,
Hmm.
or something that might be slightly new. But with their budget, I mean, they could do anything at this point.
Hmm.
And they've made so much off of GTA 5 that they're long overdue to add something pretty cool to it. Whether, and I think you spoke about them adding something into it, a new update or whatnot.
Yeah, so they're still adding stuff to GTA 6. I mean, sorry, GTA Online. But what I'd like to see them do is sort of a return to their earlier days in which we saw titles like LA Noire and Max Payne and things because and Oni, though I never played it and it looked kind of cool for its time because they teamed up with other developers on those projects. So,
Like tag
Remedy,
teamed them, huh?
they pretty much tag teamed them. So Remedy had Max Payne going,
Yeah.
and then even looking into it, the first Midnight Club had Rebellion development studio on there, and so I think if they were a little more open to maybe bring in some other developer or co-develop something, or maybe just put the Rockstar shine or polish on it,
Yeah.
that they could really do lots of things. And I think also that while they're now known that like pretty much every title is like some super massive open world experience, it doesn't necessarily need to be that.
Yeah.
And I think they could totally just do a little side project that's more along the scale of like an indie game. Kind of how they had those spin-offs like to the Chinatown Wars, GTA, or the Vice City stories and stuff
Hmm.
like that, where it could be like, yeah, it's kind of like a separate game, but it's also like a spin-off.
Hmm.
Um,
Or they can make sequels to
and
some of
sequels.
the underrated and or um, something that was made way back when. You know, we speak of the likes of Midnight Club, which was made.
Yeah.
I don't know when the last one was dropped. It was like 03, 04, maybe.
Somewhere around there, like might
Yeah,
have been like oh six,
yeah,
7, 8,
2006 or 8.
like
I
6 or
yeah,
something.
I can't remember when the last time was, but that, you know, I know I like to think like that was yesterday, but it's been a while.
It's
That's
been
a
a
while,
while.
and I think that they would do great with today's whatever you want to say engines or whatever with either remaster, doing a sequel to Midnight Club. That would
Hmm.
be next level shit, to be honest. And it would you could do so much more that you were maybe slightly they were slightly limited to then. They can open it up full blown now.
Right. I mean, and what I'd really love to see, I mean, I don't know if they'd ever go that route, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Team Bondi development studio has been dissolved, or maybe they're not working on anything. I don't know what the situation, but
Hmm.
those are the guys that worked with Rockstar on LA Noir, and I
Hmm.
would love to see another game in that
Genre.
world. But that genre too, that something maybe more detective style focused,
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to be LA Noir. It could be a different setting, could be a different time period. But maybe some detective type game, or even just like what I always wanted to see
Hmm.
was a GTA style game, that was, more old school mobster Godfather esque,
Yeah.
like, and we got like or like Boardwalk Empire level, like
Oh man.
we got a little taste of that in Red Dead 2. There was some point where like there were some East Coast mobsters that kind of came into play,
Yeah.
and I would love to see more of that, because that really intrigued my interest. And fuck it. I mean, I'm just throwing ideas out here, but like I'd love to see like a John Dillinger game, like,
That'd be
or
sweet.
some bank robbery game,
Wow.
from that era.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
dope. Or whatever current era or well, actually, no, that wouldn't work because the
yeah.
tech and all that.
Well, I mean, they could do different things. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like our world as we see it. Like, maybe it's present day, but like, I don't know, certain things are different. Like, it's a different
They should
reality.
make a game like I Am Legend, like the end of the world
Oh yeah,
apocalypse type deal. And I understand there are some games out there like that, but
yeah,
they could totally make a wicked spin on that. Something like Undead Nightmare, and just
yeah,
kind of work with whoever helped them with that, and then just kind of make a new game with it.
yeah. I mean, they could do all kinds of things, but I think what we're getting at is that we just want to see something different.
Yeah.
And they had an era where they were doing different things, and it was like, oh, okay, here's a racing game, or here's Manhunt,
Yeah.
where you're killing a bunch of people and you're trying to survive, or Smuggler's Run, though I never played that. But like,
Hmm.
they had all these different types of games, and I think and Bully's like,
Yeah.
it's very highly regarded as a great experience,
I've
though.
never played it. Yeah.
I never played it either, and I don't know if it still holds up. I looked at some gameplay, and I thought, I don't know, but it was something different, and though it was very close to the GTA formula, it
Mhm.
was completely different style and setting. And they even did that Warriors game.
Yeah.
But point being is like, there's so much more that they could do that is not this cash cow GTA, or the second cash cow, I guess, would be Red Dead.
Yeah. I mean, although I wouldn't mind any more content for Red Dead,
Yeah,
I want it. At this point, I'm scraping the barrel for anything.
yeah.
And like I stated a couple seconds ago or a couple minutes ago, they definitely need to focus on what really worked for them
Hmm.
and go back to the drawing board on that and say, you know what, and that could be just I liked Manhunt. I don't know about if that would fly today.
Hmm.
I feel like it'd get shut down pretty quick. But like
I
you
don't
said, you
know.
don't need, and yeah, maybe not, but you don't need to do that. There's different things that you can play upon. Maybe a sports type game. I
Yeah.
mean, they can be really, they could dig deep and find something. But I think that it'd be cool to see either more. I wouldn't say I'm not the biggest fan of like remasters or what is
Hmm.
that the one? I know we discussed this last episode, but is that the one where they just kind of like beef up the graphics a little bit and everything stays the
Yeah,
same?
everything's basically the same. Yeah, generally speaking, that's like a remaster where everything's the same. It
Yeah.
just looks visually a little
Yeah.
better.
So that's cool. I like those, but I like those for like PS1 games.
Yeah.
Whereas PS3, PS2 games, I feel like the graphics were decent. They weren't that choppy.
Yeah.
So I'm not the biggest fan in the world of
So let's do the
remasters.
facelift and do a remake.
Yeah, exactly. Or do a sequel to
Or
one.
do a sequel. Because,
That'd be cool.
another one that I thought about was, Red Dead 2 being a prequel to Red Dead 1.
Yeah.
They were starting that game. You're already in the swing of things with some rival gang and some big, hit that went, not a hit, this whole like robbery deal or something that went wrong. And so
Yeah.
some of those characters like Dutch and Hosea and all them, like, and Arthur, they've been well established and they're on the other side of that hill, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to see, like, and part of that, the motif for that game is that that era of the West is ending, and civilization is creeping in, which also is with Red Dead 1, but
Yeah.
maybe peeling it back to a prequel to the prequel and playing as Arthur when he's young or something.
Oh, that would be sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be like what was it you said? Like a
Spin-off?
a spin-off, like The Lost and the Damned. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, like a little DLC. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-fledged 40, 50-hour game. If they did like a little 5-hour, 10-hour experience where you get some of this inside or extra missions, just something like Lost and the Damned or Gay Tony, like those games, like, yeah, they weren't another GTA entry, but it was a well thought and well executed expansion. And I think, if nothing else, like, those I think would do really well and be well received.
Yeah. And I think they just need to just come out with something. And I know GTA 6 it's gonna be quite a whiles away.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna see nothing for a very long time. And so they're gonna have to work with what they already have out, which is from today, present day, is only GTA Online, which is sad. But hopefully they can gather even more players on Red Dead 2 Online. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I think I might just dive back in to that because I feel like that has more purpose because at least I can go around and hunt for hours on end.
Yeah.
And not just run around and go sell dope or flip cars,
Right. When you're really just doing the same actions, you're going to this marker, doing this thing, going to that marker, kill some people. But when GTA 6 does hit, it's definitely going to be this huge, massive experience. I know, for instance, when GTA 5 hit, it was like a whole nother level. And I know we're going to get that, but, whether it be in this time gap between now and then or even after the fact, I think just as a whole, they need to sort of go back to the experimenting days and try a little something different here and
risky.
there. Be a little risky. And not necessarily these full-fledged 30, 40, 60-hour experiences, but, these little side games or something too, or just, something on a lower scale. That way they are not necessarily like diverting too many resources as they might seem to think, but are still adding more character to their whole brand.
Yeah, I feel like them also, like I said, going into the remasters. I would not like them to do that because if that takes away from their new developing games and or new content with, like, I don't know, the game they've had out for the past decade is GTA Online. If they got some stuff, they're like, hey, you know what, we won't pull the trigger on this, but we will remaster Bully or we will remaster Midnight Club or whatever they decide to do. I agree with you. I would rather them say, you know what, let's focus on what we got now, the project now, versus doing that. I mean, although people have their opinions, but for me, I wouldn't mind jumping back into GTA if they added something fresh. They injected it with something fresh.
And they did some cool elements. They brought some cool elements to the table that are relevant with the Dr. Dre like contracts expansion. Like, I played those missions online and it was pretty entertaining and it was cool. Because you're here you are. It's like a full on, this thing's going on and it was more of the same in that you hop on a computer, you start this mission, you do this thing, but there were
Yeah.
certain moments in there that were pretty cool, and I would like to just see more of a focus story thing come about.
Mhm.
And I agree with you about the remasters, with the exception of Red Dead One. I think
Mhm.
just because that one it never got a PC port, and so if they made a PC port at the very least, if not a PC port and um, a console remaster at some point. It doesn't have to be now,
Yeah.
but I would like to see that if nothing else in the remaster realm.
Yeah. And I mean, I just might have to take another stab at Red Dead 2,
Yeah,
because I am fully bored with what's going on with GTA Online, and
yeah,
I feel like I'm stuck too as well because I don't have enough funds to have fun,
yeah,
and I'm stuck at a crossroads right there, and I don't know. I see a lot of people play, which reignites like my excitement for the series with a lot of people, but that's PC stuff where they do the role
the
playing
role
thing.
playing and stuff
Those are
like that.
pretty
Yeah,
entertaining to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe
yeah,
GTA could see, maybe Rockstar could see that and try
yeah.
to do something with how they approach that. I know that's not really them, right? That's other people doing the servers, or how does that work? Real
Yeah,
quick.
so I mean, I haven't messed with those, but I mean, from what I understand, yeah, it's all user, like people are making servers to play on, and they're going in there and they're doing all these role playing things where they have actually added functionalities, and it's still very clunky because it's an old game and everything's got to be done through some sort of menu more or less. But I mean, it's cool. You got people, getting into roles and being cops or just roaming around and doing stuff. And I think if they leaned in on that element of like really giving more variety to the gameplay and kind of made it so it was more built into the experience as an option at the very least,
Hmm.
um, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that as long as they shake it up, you'll more people will definitely, not that there's not a million people probably playing still, everyone finds a way to have fun in that game, but for me, I don't get bored easily, but if it's a constant repetitive, we're gonna grind out a game, and so that's kind of funny because like when I play, I don't know, my favorite Call of Duty, I know we're not talking about them right now, um but one of my favorite ones is Black Ops 1 because there was so much you can do when you did play. If you got X amount of headshots, you got a little charm. If you completed all this checkoff list, you got a gold gun. There was purpose there. You were grinding for that reason. Whereas now with the newer ones, you can kind of buy it. So I mean that's another topic for another time,
Hmm.
but more or less for this game, I want to see them inject some new stuff in there
Hmm.
and maybe some role playing stuff, maybe
Maybe
some.
so you're saying more like reward for the gameplay rather than just grind this money and buy the thing you want.
Yeah.
Like maybe some reward, like okay, you sold X amount of dope, so now you can do this
Yeah.
or whatever.
Or like with the, I don't know, the clubs or what, like the
Yeah,
motorcycle gang, for it to be real, like realistic, real, like
yeah,
thus far Rockstar copies like real life stuff, like for example the whole map is that's LA,
yeah,
like everyone can look there. I've seen people play it and they're like, holy moly, this is da 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 street, and it's crazy because they do it right then, but they should do it right with that too as well, where it's like they can do careers or cool stuff like the
yeah.
GTA 3 did with the ambulance and the cops and like
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And I think we mentioned this in the past, but like in one of the episodes, just that role playing element to where you do certain things and they actually feel different because now the CEO office that you can buy, the motorcycle club, the nightclub, the gun running bunker, all these things like are different things and they're different businesses and they're different fields, I guess you could say, of criminal activity or related. But they all very much play the same, and it's all going to this one of those things, hopping on a computer in the building, starting up a mission and then doing that mission. And
Yeah.
and it kind of gets really dry because it's the same exact gameplay loop and with a different skin. And I think if they really just made them more unique, like for instance for a biker club, like they did add some like you can do a melee attack while you're on the bike, but like maybe they could go a little more in on that. And maybe you could like
Yeah.
swing some chains or something.
Oh, that'd
and
be sweet.
maybe
Sledgehammer. No.
you beat up, you trash some other motorcycle club, and you have like these little gang wars,
Mhm.
or like
I'm big on that. I'm big on like
Yeah.
it being like PvP and on a broad scale, like a huge
yeah,
scale,
and more dynamic,
Mhm.
and
Purpose.
and they could have NPCs there too to flavor it up, but more dynamic,
Not
not
cop
this
stuff.
like menu shit where you go like, okay, you want to do the mission? Let me hop through these 5 menus
Yeah.
so I
And
can
of course we're
start it.
exaggerating, but like it's a lot of
I mean,
menus.
that's not much of an exaggeration.
He was like, nah, it's spot on, dude.
5 menus. I mean, maybe it's like 4.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Scale it down one. But yeah,
Uh,
Arze
uh,
Poetic has a huge point there when he says that is, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of everything sometimes when you're jumping in the menus, and it's a lot,
yeah.
and even as much as if you play a lot of the created by Rockstar stunt races or whatever, you got to go through menus or you got to scroll for them.
Yeah.
Everything nowadays, I hate to admit it, but it's rapid. Boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. It got to be at your fingertips.
Yeah, or at the very least, just dynamic. Like, and
Yeah.
just to, I think a lot of people praise Naughty Dog as a studio,
Absolutely love them.
who've made Uncharted and The Last of Us games, and they're definitely one of my favorite studios. But I think something that they do exceptionally well that is really unmatched or only matched by few is their animation work and their just immersiveness.
Yeah.
For instance, in Last of Us, if you want to craft something, you need to craft a Molotov cocktail or like a nail bomb or whatever. It is technically a menu, but the way the game shows this to you and the way you interact with it is you put down your backpack and you're digging through the backpack.
I love that. I
and
love
you're
they did
putting
that.
these things together. It's very slick. It's very easy to do on the spot, and it's dynamic and it's kind of more immersive because there's an action correlated with it. But when I'm on GTA and I'm like, okay, it's time to put some armor on or eat some snacks,
Yeah.
and I just go through these menus, completely skip the animation because it's terrible. Or if there is no animation, it just appears. It breaks the immersion, and then it becomes so gamey that while yes, it's a game, you want to be absorbed in that experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I pay for, is to be involved that way. And I don't want to send the wrong message here and say everything needs to happen overnight or anything like, but
Oh, of course not.
it's been forever. And
Yeah.
kind of trying to draw us back to the point is it sucks because GTA Online was definitely an extremely big deal leading up to it and even past that. And even with all the bugs and glitches, first off, everyone got a little taste of it. I got a little hacked money. I'm not going to lie. I was given that.
Yeah.
I didn't do it myself, but we're given that. But they can, it's disappointment because there's not a lot right now. I mean, depending on what you do,
Yeah.
or what you play or what you're interested in, of course you can seek and find out some games that you like, but I've strictly always been, online ever since I started playing online. I got a little late start. Maybe that's why I'm so obsessed with it. But to me, my opinion, there isn't a lot as far as single player goes that's caught my attention. And then you tend to slide back to these online games with all your friends or just with random people. And it's fun, but it's not fun when you jump in a lobby and there's a million different things going on in a bad way. Somebody has something so OP you can't even take it out the sky.
And thankfully, apparently they're nerfing the oppressor with the recent update.
Oh yeah, so if you can just real briefly, can you
Yeah.
touch on that new update if you know a little bit about
All
that?
I know is that there's going to be some like new missions or something they can do, perhaps new character, I don't know, that you're interacting with and getting missions from.
Yeah.
I don't know much on that front, but what I do know is that they're just adding some quality of life with the menus and how you interact with them, and doing some of those slight changes. Like for instance, the oppressor, for those that don't know, is this hover motorcycle
With rockets on it.
that has rocket missiles that you can
Almost
basically-
unlimited, right?
it's like I think 20-30 or something, but
That's
it's
a lot.
easy to refill,
Yeah.
and it's very rapid fire rate.
Yeah, the what is it called? The turnover time, or what's it called? The rest period or whatever?
Oh yeah, like the
Where the
cooldown.
cooldown's insane, because I remember they they had a huge deal when there was only just the tank that was a problem
Yeah.
in the game, and you were worried about that and trying to blow that up. But I remember shortly after somebody kind of put it up online that there was a huge exploit in the spawning of tanks, and it was getting out of control where people were just spawning them instantaneously.
Yeah.
And it was an issue. It took them a while, but they fixed it.
Right.
And so this is taking a long time to fix the oppressor.
Oh yeah, because it's a big detractor for people that really just want to play GTA for GTA. You have people that hop into these things just to fuck up other people. And so you'll be minding your own business.
I'm guilty of that.
Doing your missions, and then somebody just comes and blows you up, and that can really cause somebody to stop playing this game, because then they don't see the space for them to do what they want to do. It's cool that they're taking a look at such things now. I do feel like it's a little too late, but I think if they can just focus in a little bit more for this next GTA, and like maybe not have so many things that are just so drastically overpowered, and maybe have more ways that you can counteract them. Like for instance, throw in some EMP grenades, or like,
that would be sweet. Yeah,
some that you could just like boop, and then like you can knock them out the sky or something.
That would be sweet.
I don't know, like something to just balance it, because once they come out with the next thing, everybody gets that thing, and then it's like you have.
See, and that's what it is things are so easily attainable. And I feel like them doing the whole shark card thing, like I understand you got to make money somewhere, but I feel like sometimes people get to abuse that and then have shinier, nicer things. Meanwhile, you're just starting out like everybody else, or some people, and you may not have that much in-game funds for it, and you don't want to spend your real life money on it to skip ahead. But I would like that too, where it's kind of separated. I'm big on game mode type things.
Yeah.
I know with GTA, I know GTA Online tried their hardest to do something similar to that, where they have team deathmatch, King of the Hill, I think.
Right.
They have some
racing
stunt jump games, even user created
yes
modes, I believe. And I think for me, I would love if Rockstar themselves was able to put game modes streamlined and have it so that it's more crispier. It allows for, example, one of the biggest pet peeves for some people that do maybe like to be destructive and ruin someone's day, maybe give them their own lobby where it's, and I'm going to go out there and say this, and I'm pretty sure there's a gang of people that relate to me. No law enforcement, no cops, no ambulances, nothing to get in your way. Maybe even if you really want to turn it up a notch, maybe no type of vehicles, and then it's just 1v1, and you're gonna have to maybe cut the map in half and keep it maybe downtown only, or whatever city.
Keep it focused, or maybe even have it like in a team sense, where X amount of people can be criminals and X amount of people have to be law enforcement.
That would be sick. But even a way where it's it's non-aggressive either. Maybe it's cool. Like you could just roll up and arrest them and just throw them in the back of the police van and just kind of wrangle up the bad guys and just keep it don't even gotta be full-fledged war all the time. And if it does turn into that, maybe you rank up, have a ranking system to where you can rank up and like, okay, like kind of what we were talking about with the motorcycle club, but make this like in that game mode, you can be like a huge criminal and you're like on the FBI's most wanted, and they gotta, as the opposition, as the law enforcement, maybe you're a high detective or something like that,
and then you have certain skills that will help you combat the enemy and whatnot. And I think there's a lot that they can do that they're not doing there. But the problem is even for the things they have done, they're just so poorly implemented that it detracts from them. For instance, they do have all these game modes like races and team death matches, and one of my favorite things that I saw in this game are the user created things. Because you have people that you can go in there with a map editor and make, like before stunt races were a thing. You basically had people making those with like these editors, right? Only problem is, which is a huge problem, is it's convoluted as hell to even try to get to those modes, and you have to dig through menus, and then you have to like save them or and it's the same problem that Battlefield 2042 had, in that they had this whole portal mode. Which was separate from the main multiplayer game, and it was its own multiplayer. It was like two games in one, where in that mode, you can customize game modes and people are hosting all different types of games and modes, but and they had different maps that were brought back from the
Yeah.
older Battlefield games and weapons, and they're starting to learn, and more recently they've been combining those into the base game, where if you hop into Conquest, now you're actually on the old maps too, which adds more variety.
Yeah.
And I say that to say that GTA could, for this next one, their next online implementation, I think they really got to take a look at the streamlining of all of these different game modes and having something for everyone, where if people want to be fully destructive like you mentioned,
Yeah.
having a balls to the wall lobby where you can just go all out,
Yeah.
and maybe the option for law enforcement or the option to play as law enforcement, and then
Mm,
also have your modes where you just want to do missions and maybe you just see other people doing missions and you can help them out and collaborate as criminals or whatever,
yeah.
you know.
And that would be cool. And then even having another dedicated lobby for, if you want to just save NPCs, or I don't know how they would do that part though, but
Hmm.
or just do
Yeah,
that.
but
And
there's a
they
way.
should add in like a battlefield type
Revival
function where
thing.
you can revive and stuff, or you could be the ambulance.
Defibrillator, yeah.
Yeah, just come out and just hook them up, or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. Or if they call the cops, you show up for real. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of
And I
cool.
think that's what they do more or less in some of those role playing servers where, like,
Yeah.
if someone died, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I think this is something like along those lines. If not, they do things like that where someone will come in up in an ambulance and bring back a player because they've been dead or whatnot. And there's just lots of room to explore, and I think while we're talking about all kinds of crazy ideas, I think whatever they do want to run with this new game, or whatever they don't do, as long as the execution is there and it's just not this convoluted mess that's it's just a grind and repetitive loop, I think they're gonna do well. But we'll see.
I know I'll play the hell out of it if all those boxes are well, most of those boxes are checked. It being smooth is and runs well is definitely top priority. But to have some engaging game modes
Yeah.
and or missions,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's nice to just sit back and get into a game where it's constantly a world evolving. And even if they made it subscription based, which I know we touched on that they've done that, I think, right?
I don't think we mentioned it, but yeah, they added a subscription element to where you can pay a monthly price and you get like a certain amount of money for your character and items and things.
See, even if they were to do it to turn into kind of like a World of Warcraft and stuff like
MMO.
that, with MMO style, that would be awesome. And I would pay for it if I knew that it was developing, or it was going towards, them adding new content or
Yeah.
new something to keep it fresh and not just
Right.
die out and be stale. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would put. I mean, look how long the fan base is stuck with it. I'm just one
Yeah.
of millions of people, or whatever you can say, hundreds of thousands of people that are still playing or not playing, and they have a immense fan base that's
Hmm.
still active with the game. And if I'm pretty sure the diehard people that have stuck with it these 10 years, they would really appreciate some type of addition to the game that isn't, that isn't just rinse and repeat type deal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It seems Rockstar is just getting a little stale and we want it to be fresh again. That's it.
Yeah, don't turn into Call of Duty.
Yeah, don't come into don't be this Call of Duty that's churning out, repeat after repeat with a different skin and shitting on things. And they're doing some things here and there, right? Particularly with the Modern Warfare reboots. I think they did pretty well with that. With
Yeah,
the
they got lucky, definitely.
they got lucky with that, and hopefully this next one continues that trend. But because they did take a break, they like
Yeah, and
to
they
work on
they
it.
had to sit back, and maybe that's what Rockstar needs to do. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe I'm hearing that the reason why the remasters got shelved was because of the fact that they're trying to focus on GTA
yeah.
6. So let's hope that it's huge,
And that's cool, and
thing.
and that's what they are doing, is they're working on GTA 6 and while also keeping online alive. And that's what they tend to do, I think, overall, is sit back and really go to town on these big massive games. But when it comes to you know, certain mechanics and elements. We just want to see them a little more streamlined because it's kind of like how Bethesda has their jank, you know. Uh, you know, like you play those games, they definitely have a charm, but
Yeah.
there's also a certain level of jankiness when you're playing Skyrim and Fallout.
Yeah,
So
there is. But it's weird because like I don't mind that
yeah.
from them, I guess, in a way. I don't know how to describe it,
Yeah,
but
but over time though, you do want to see it like
yeah.
you don't want to see
Oh
the
no.
same shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. When
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls the next one comes out, I have my opinion on that too. And
Yeah.
there are, but I mean, I'll tell you this much, it's not a lot because of the fact that I feel like they listen more to their audience, whereas with Rockstar, they're just like, nah, man, whatever makes us the most, we're doing that, bro.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they follow the money.
yeah.
That's what the trend has seemed thus far.
But then again, Bethesda rushes stuff too, though. It's a lot.
Yeah, because there's tons. They're just their bugs are notorious.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Ruining whole games. It's
yeah,
crazy.
they'll ruin whole games or there's just super glitchy messes sometimes
Mhm.
and you know and their engine is just not that great for it and so that's something that like you know while they're working on this next Starfield that's coming out
I saw that. Yeah.
while that looks awesome, it's just another iteration of their creation engine and you know it you can tell that there's a little bit of that jank and it's going to be and while it looks on the surface much better, I do worry that like there's just going to be certain bugginess or where you're trying to do certain things and it just doesn't gel well.
Yeah. Let's hope not. I mean, I'm excited for this next installment of GTA,
Yeah.
and also the Elder Scrolls game that's coming out too as well. And let's see what they can do with the PS5 and the next gen consoles. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, before we wrap up and stuff to touch on that this will be presumably the first game that they're going to be making
yeah.
just for these new consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that don't know, these new consoles on a hardware level with raw specs way outclass the older ones, and the capabilities are just so much more with their processing power, their graphics rendering, and their solid state drives that they got in these things that just allow them to process so much more data so much more quickly. And so I think that should help with a lot of these things that we kind of want to see them do. And hopefully it's just rather than just a visual fidelity thing that they're really going to go in for animation and
Mm-hmm.
gameplay mechanics and just unique things and refreshing a lot of systems.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I hope they utilize the next gen consoles to their full capabilities.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening and watching. If you want to watch the YouTube stream of it or YouTube video of it, but thank you guys so much. We appreciate your guys' love and support. And this wraps up episode 3. I'm 3Kings, T3HREE Kings. You could check me out, YouTube channel the same as my gamer tag. And currently I'm running PUBG and what is it, Rocket League. That's it. That's what I'm on.
There
So
you go.
hit me up if you want to run a couple matches. Ezra, what are you up to?
All right. Well, you know, I'm focused more on some video content. I got you know, I got a lot of plans for that, and also doing some more music on my channel. So if you're interested on some more, you know, analytical and breakdown type stuff, I got that as well as some dope rhymes, I could say.
Yeah.
That's Arze Poetic. That's ARZE Poetic on YouTube. You know, I do want to get back to the Twitch thing. I
Yes.
just main reason I haven't is since I built in the new computer, I have to like reconfigure a bunch of things to get it to where I want to be. And so I'll do that at some point. I was doing a lot of Hitman, and I want to continue off where I left
That
off
was
there.
awesome series. Yeah.
And
that you did.
there's a lot of indie titles that I'm getting into, and that are sort of renewing an appreciation for lower budget and more focused experiences. So definitely look out for some of that stuff.
Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you. See you next episode.
All right, to the next episode. Hopefully we won't keep you waiting too long.
Yeah, 6 months this time.
You're pretty good.